The millionaire mother's life changes forever when she hears the black man teach her autistic son. Clara Wright stood in her sprawling kitchen, sunlight streaming through the high windows, illuminating gleaming marble and gold accents. It was the kind of place that whispered elegance, from the delicate porcelain to the lavender-scented candles that floated in the air. Life was perfect, or so she thought. But everything changed when she learned about Oliver's new friend, Marcus. One day after school, Clara found Oliver engrossed in conversation at their doorstep with a man she had never seen before. Her initial thoughts were a whirlwind. Who was he? Why was he here? The sight of Oliver, his eyes sparkling with excitement, crushed against her chest like a vice. This stranger was a teacher from a public school Clara had never bothered to acknowledge. And yet, there he was, animatedly explaining something that made Oliver laugh, a sound so rare and sweet that it broke her heart. Clara felt the world narrowing. The whispers grew louder. Does he really think he can just come here? Was the thought that tumbled in her mind like a pile of broken glass. She had shielded Oliver from anything that might disrupt their peaceful bubble. The underlying tension felt electric and alive. Unable to hold back, she stepped outside. Eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" she demanded, voice sharp. Marcus turned, his expression shifting from warmth to caution. "I'm Marcus. I'm just a teacher." His voice was steady, but Clara sensed an undercurrent of defiance. He seemed unfazed by her title, her million-dollar home, her perfectly organized life. "Oliver and I were just talking about dinosaurs." The word echoed, filling the air with a strange magic. Clara had always thought her wealth could buy everything, including the best education for her son, but here it felt like it couldn't shield her from this unexpected moment. A lump formed in her throat, stirring an uncomfortable feeling of vulnerability she had long avoided. As days turned into weeks, Clara watched from a distance, herself becoming a passive observer of this unusual bond. She could see Oliver blossom in ways she hadn't thought possible. He would share stories of Marcus's lessons, tales that pulled at Clara's heart. Yet each laugh Oliver shared with Marcus felt like a betrayal. Something deep inside her recoiled. One afternoon, Clara learned a secret. Marcus didn't just teach. He had grown up in her affluent neighborhood, his family history intertwined with hers in a way she never knew. The truth hit her like a punch. This wasn't just a story of class differences. It had personal ties that unspooled everything she believed. The tension between them thickened like fog. And Clara realized her comfortable world was teetering. "What do you really know about him?" friends questioned, framing her unease as something to guard against. But Clara felt the shocking instinct drive her toward Marcus. Was she supposed to cling to her privilege or embrace something far more transformative? As she grappled with the implications of their connection, a flicker of hope sparked in the perplexing chaos. "Me alote com algoritmo? Oh, e falha pra mim, a cidade em que você tá vendo? Eu amo conhecer todas as pessoas incríveis que fazem parte dessa comunidade. E a sua participação faz toda a diferença. Let's interagir." Como Clara estava no precipício da sua tensão interna, grapilhando com as complexidades do seu mundo, o telefone chamou. Ele estava ao lado da coisa de madeira, e pareceu condeixar algo. "É importante para você. E é importante para você poder participar. Boa noite, pessoal. Abraços. Adorei da Nora. Abraço todos vocês. E obrigado. Estamos felizes com vocês. Vocês incompreenderam. Nossa satisfação conhecer todos vocês." His face was pale, eyes wide with urgency. "Clara," he gasped, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "You need to know something." "What is it?" Her heart raced, a tight knot forming in her chest. It felt wrong to see him here, to feel this dangerous pull between them growing stronger with every passing moment. It's about Oliver, it's important. His words tumbled out, frantic. Just then, a loud crash erupted from the kitchen. Clara's head snapped around just as a glass vase toppled off the counter, shattering into countless glittering shards. The sound was deafening, like the shattering of her increasingly fragile world. "Oliver!" she shouted, panic surging through her. She dashed toward the kitchen, Marcus close behind. The scene that awaited them was unthinkable. Oliver was huddled on the floor, clutching his toy dinosaurs, tears streaming down his cheeks. One glance at him and the air thickened with dread. But it wasn't just Oliver that held Clara's attention. It was the figure. Estando naqui está porta-toco. Another man, broad shoulder e empurrante, saiu do canto. This wouldn't be a friendly visit. Marcus, o tom sharpo saiu da areia como posse. We need to talk. Hey, Gok, instintivamente pondo seu posse obentada de seu Oliver. E chovesse. You don't know me, but I know you, Clara, and I know your son. He shifted slightly, and they could see a glint of metal at his hip. A gun. What do you want with us? Clara's voice trembled, fear clawing at the edges of her resolve. I'm here about your husband, the man said. And in that moment, everything shifted. He owes me a lot of money, more than you can imagine. Clara's stomach dropped. Everything she thought she knew, every ideal she had held about her life, began to unravel. What do you mean? She whispered, suddenly feeling lightheaded. Your husband wasn't as clean as you thought, the man continued, stepping closer, his gaze fixated on Clara. He's been doing business with the wrong people, and now it's time for you to pay the price. No. Marcus shouted, stepping forward to protect Clara and Oliver. Clara could feel her heart racing like a wild drumbeat now. Stay out of this, the man warned, raising his voice, the tension crackling in the air like static. This is between here and me. Clara gritou Oliver mais. Como aquele tempo colapsou tão rapidamente. Milhões de conceitos repercutindo com o medo que ela sentia pelo filho. Por que o seu marido nunca mencionou isso? O que mais ele estava escondendo? O homem dual sorriu, mas não tinha bondade nele. Era o que parecia segredos, segredos sombrios. Você tem escolha. Você pode pagar o que ele deve, ou vetou a minha palavra. Tratou uma voz que ele não mais escondeu, levando um poroso, chilante no ar. Moisés Ais burnendo o olho dele, de raiva sobre a superfície. Get away from her! Ele gritou, estepando para a frente. Clara queria gritar, chorar o ar. Deixou, mas estava congelada no lugar, presada. In this nightmare. Oliver, she whispered, panicking as she realized the gravity of their situation. Was time running out? What would happen next? Would their lives ever be the same again? With the man's presence looming large over them, questions swirled like a violent storm in Clara's mind. She felt tension tightening in her chest, her heart pounding madly against the weight of uncertainty. Would the truth tear them apart, or bind them together in ways they could never expect? Clara was frozen, heart racing, a rush of fear and confusion swirling within her. The man's presence felt suffocating, like a storm cloud ready to burst. What do you mean I have a choice? She stammered, clutching Oliver tighter. An easy choice, he. Ripley, his olhos glimante como sinestro de luz. Você paga doe para o seu marido. If, só, ele pontou no ar, cheio de ameaças. Ali, o som de sirenes ruía no distante, crescendo e mais urgente, saltando, a tensão como uma faca quente. Confundiu um grupo de polícias uniformados, cheios de uniformes, mais armas em vala, movendo como uma força coesiva de aço e autoridade. O homem envolta-se, olhares estreitos de choque. Clara era muito estudida para reagir. Oliver ficou chocado, pressionando-lhe contra a perna. Tudo sentiu borrado, como um sonho derramado. Dizia, desça. Marcos yelled. Instingo que toevo. Clara rapidou para casa. Oliver pulou para segurar-se debaixo do braço. O mundo explodiu caótico como officers enfrentaram-nos. Confusão dançando no ar. Onde está? Um oficial pesado. É a compressa como se escaneava. Esqueda também tem. A desesperação fugou na voz. Mas os oficiais não se apavoraram. Um lançou-se para ele, cegando o gole, enquanto o outro segurava a caída nas costas. Por um momento, a atmosfera shiftou. A tensão foi para a ação. Marcos ajoelhou com ela, a expressão de preocupação e urgência. Ela notou o coração pesado, tentando processar o caos. Her world twisted yet again. The man in handcuffs turned, and in the flickering light, she saw a familiar face. It was Tom, her husband. No, no way, she whispered, feeling her stomach drop. This couldn't be happening. What was he doing here? The pieces began to collide in her mind, and disbelief spiraled into anger. Clara, he called out, desperation etched on his features. You have to listen. What have you done? Clara shouted, rising to her feet, tremendo não só por medo, mas por detraição. Eu quero explicar, Tom disse, guardando os oficiais para trazer doenças. Eu me caí num saco, mas não é o que aparece. Sua mente rastou. Back to years of marriage, of trust and shared dreams. What mess? What kind of mess? It felt like a knife twisted in her gut. But just then the distant sound of another siren cut through the air, sharper and more urgent than before. The officers looked at each other, their brows knitted in uncertainty. We need to secure the area. More units are on the way. Clara felt a sinking sense of dread. They're after you, aren't they? Tom's silence spoke volumes. He turned away, eyes darting, an unspoken truth lingering in the air. The man who had threatened her, the police, even Marcus. None of it made sense anymore. The life she had built began to crumble around her, fractures spreading like spiderwebs in the uncomfortable silence. Clara, Marcus shouted suddenly, as another sound emerged from beyond the front door. A loud crash, a car slamming into something outside. In the blink of an eye, the outside world exploded with chaos. Sirens blared, shouts erupted, and the front door swung open violently. A figure stumbled through, covered in dirt and blood, her husband's accomplice. They're coming, he shouted. They're here. Panic surged, and Clara's heart raced anew. What had Tom dragged them all into? Would they make it out alive? She felt her grip loosen on Oliver, fear squeezing tighter in her chest. Clara, get Oliver and go, Marcus shouted, his voice fierce and urgent. But where would they run? What safety could there be when everything spun, wildly out of control? Her world crumbled in this moment, leaving her standing at the edge of an abyss. Everything she believed, every truth she held dear, shifted beneath her. As she looked toward the chaos unfolding, she could only wonder, what lay ahead? Would she be able to find a way through this nightmare? Or was it just the beginning of something far more sinister? Clara's heart raced as the chaos unfolded. The man with the gun was a threat looming over her family, and yet the sight of Tom tied into this mess felt like a knife through her soul. How did everything spiral so quickly? But there was no time to dwell on it. Sirens screamed closer and the tension erupteu em todos os cantos da sala. Ela desviou o espírito gerando empurra-lanto. Depois surgiu o bala, porém o caos fazendo. Recentemente, ela espera com pese na cena, sentindo-se a presença do arbusto da manhã, voando para pesenar o busto da lado, o estômago rocheio bodando para dentro. Em definitivo, era rodeio. Ela cena, pegada na rua, podia para cima. By officers, suddenly broke free, a wild look on his face. Clara, we need to go, now! But before she could respond, another figure appeared through the dust and smoke. A woman. She stumbled in, clothes torn, a wild glint in her eyes. There was something about her that made Clara's blood run cold. In her grasp, she held a small device, a remote control. "Stop!" the woman shouted. Deathless, desperation etched across her face. "I'm not here to hurt you." The officers hesitated, guns still raised, confusion rippling through their ranks. "Who are you?" one of them demanded. But the woman pushed past all caution and pointed the remote toward the bombed area outside. "My name is Sarah. I didn't mean for this to happen. They were supposed to scare you, not," her voice faltered as the weight of reality hit her. "Not this." Clara's mind raced. "What do you mean? What did you do?" The pieces were breaking apart, and she struggled to assemble them into something that made sense. I was working with Tom. He said you could help us, that we needed money to clear his debts. I didn't think it would escalate to this." The truth pierced the air like a sharp knife. Tom's tangled bedbedilais estava tengado com uma mulher vindo. Aspiração clara ficou na boca. Had Tom known all along? Ajudar você? Ajudar você fazer o quê? Bloar todos nós junto, Clara achotou ela, angustiando. Fear. No, it was supposed to be a warning, Sarah pleaded, tears filling her eyes. They were supposed to scare Tom, not destroy everything. Everything? Clara echoed, panic rising. A new layer of betrayal stung fiercely. Another officer interjected, "Get on the ground, all of you." But the noise, the chaos, it all felt like a whirlwind. "Clara," Tom's voice broke through it all. "I can explain everything. I didn't know she would take it this far." But Clara was frozen. O quo inestorma revelações. A vida, há ideais e medos nos chadeiros. Tudo sentia como uma ilusão frágil destruindo. "Mamãe?" O Oliveirinho puxou para ela, tirando ares de foco. Him, fear gripping her heart. She had to protect him, to shield him from this chaos. Yet, just as hope flickered, Sarah moved closer, fear and desperation warring in her eyes. "I can help you. Tomorrow. We just need to get through this." The sound of another explosion echoed from somewhere nearby, seizing her breath. Clara felt the weight of uncertainty crash around her. Could she trust this woman? Was Tom truly the man she thought she knew? The chaos surged again, the room spinning. Everything felt like it hung by a thread, teetering on the edge. The question loomed in Clara's mind. Who really was Tom, and what had this descended into? With fear pulsing through her veins, she realized the truth. The real battle was just beginning. Would they all survive the night? And what secrets still lay buried in the darkness ahead? Clara's heart raced as the chaos unfolded. The man with the gun was a threat looming over her family, and yet the sight of Tom tied into this mess felt like a knife through her soul. How did everything spiral so quickly? But there was no time to dwell on it. Sirens screamed closer, and the tension erupted in every corner of the room. She held her breath, waiting for the chaos to settle, but it felt like the world was about to explode. "Clara!" Tom shouted, but the noise of shouting and chaos drowned him out. She could feel Oliver's small body tremblar against Phil. Amanda confusão, Sarah estava frozida, olhos conva, o remoto em suas mãos correndo. "Eu não quis fazer isso acontecer!" Pontou da ignição da casa e Clara. "Sabe mesmo? O dinheiro não era real? Você acha que isso tenha vendido?" "Estamos rompendo! Olha!" De tudo isso, o remoto, herói como a semente, her heart leaping into a tobeia. Não era aos muros. Figa estranho, emerge da fumaça e debris, armando algo ao grupo. Homem em branco, tentando mascarar o seu corpo. Clara's instintos cremeu pânico. Todos pelo amor de Terro. O ar temia tempesta, mas tudo sentia baixo e surreal. Clara, Tom saltou agora, com pânico na voz. Então, depois de alguma sinalização, o aparelho ficou leve. Sentia que o passo foi abençoado, chegou e deu impacto. O ouvido secou e o sinuace com o ar desapareceu. All que podia ver era blente sinal uma. Fora, precisamos sair. Marcos queima para ela. Clara se festrou para focar como desorientada. Os chamados dos oficiais foram despontando. O caos em domínio da confusão. E então Oliver, crampulhado no chão, um pedaço de guitro percendo seu braço. Uma grita gritava pela garganta. Oliver! Ela sopou, adiantada, entrando em pé, e Tom pegou Oliver pelo jeito. Mas antes dele chegar ao gulho, Clara preparava pinflindo de horror, inundou o pontapé, brincando saber. Sarah desapareceu pelas chamas e então terror alcançou uma nova altura. Tom subitamente deixou seus joelhos, gripando a merimina. Uma mancha escura entrando pela tora. Clara! Ele mergulhou os olhos, e naquilo. Momento, everything shifty. I'm sorry, Clara. I didn't mean for any of this. But then, before she could process, the masked man lunged at Tom, and chaos erupted once more. Clara's world spun. Was Tom a victim? Or was he part of this terrifying legacy? Why had he brought this chaos into their lives? Amid the blur, a chilling thought struck her. What if everything had been a lie? What if the man she had married was not who she thought he was at all? As the sightings wailed loud outside, Clara felt the weight of a shattered world pressing down around her. "What are we going to do?" she whispered, not to anyone in particular, but to the air thick with fear, to the wreckage of a life that lay scattered at her feet. The chaos shrieked into the night, leaving questions lingering like smoke in the air. Which way was up? What was real, and what was orchestrated? Every thought collided, and in that moment, she felt like she was losing everything. Not just around her, but within her very soul. Would they ever find their way back? Clara's world spun. She felt dizzy, caught in a whirlwind of emotions that threatened to consume her. Fear coiled tightly in her chest as the dust settled around them, and Oliver's tears cut through her panic like a sharp blade. She wanted to shield him from this nightmare, to wrap them both in the safety of her love. But shadows loomed everywhere, threatening to engulf them. As chaos surrounded them, a flicker of movement caught Clara's eye. The tall man, the masked one, had moved back, his weapon still raised. Her heart pounded in her ears, drowning out the clamor of sirens and shouting. Yet something strange hung in the air. A weight, a sense of deep betrayal that twisted her stomach. "Look out!" shouted Marcus as he grabbed her and Oliver, pulling them to the side. They stumbled, and Clara's breath caught in her throat, panic and confusion blending into a vicious cocktail. Suddenly, a shot rang out, sharp and echoing. Clara flinched, instinctively shielding Oliver. In the chaos, smoke clouded her vision, and then shock coursed through her. The masked man darted forward, slamming into Tom, his fist connecting with a sickening thud. Tom fell back, clutching his side like he was trying to hold himself together. "Why are you doing this?" Clara screamed, voice cracking. "What do you want?" But the masked man was relentless, pushing Tom down, eyes wild and desperate. "You have no idea what you've stumbled into," he yelled. Before Clara could even process his words, something unexpected happened. As Tom crumpled, the masked man ripped off his mask with a swift motion. Clara's breath hitched in her throat. It was Bill, Tom's longtime business partner, the man she thought was dead. Bill? She felt shattered, pieces of her reality falling apart like scattered glass. Gone. We thought you. Thought I was dead? Bill sneered, a cruel smile spreading across his face. That was the plan. You all were supposed to believe it. He turned to the officers, his tone dripping with contempt. You're too late, cops. This isn't just about money. It's much more than that. Clara's mind reeled. All this time while she was trying to shield Oliver, her husband was tangled in something far more sinister. Was this the debt Tom owed? A betrayal lurkindo, bem perfeito posto da vida dela. Clara, saia, Oliver! Marcos cravou, sua voz batendo na corrente de choque. Só ela podia parar de olhar, o seu mundo incompleto. Tudo o que ela pensava sobre amor, lealdade, até mesmo her own life feel like a cruel joke. Tom Grom, estrugando para explicar. Clara, por favor, se entende me entender. His olhos pedindo. Não entendo nada mais. Clara chorou, lágrimas homingando. O que mais mentiu? Mas aí, Bill se deslocou rapidamente, gritando pouco na sua mão. Clara heart choked. The game isn't over yet, he told, voice dripping with malice. If I can't get what I want, then we all lose. In a split second, Bill pressed the button. A delay, like time froze. Then a chilling beep echoed through the room. Clara's breath caught, and in that moment, her heart raced with raw terror. Run, Marcus yelled, dragging them towards the back door. But Oliver, still trembling in Clara's arms, looked up at her with wide eyes. Mommy, what's happening? I don't know, she cried, confusion and fear pooling in her chest. And then, everything exploded. A blinding flash, a roar that swallowed the air, and the world disappeared in an instant. Clara felt an icy grip on her heart, as if time had ripped apart, leaving only echoes of devastation behind. In the moments that followed, silence coated the chaos, wrapping around Clara like a heavy shroud. She blinked through the haze, trying to grasp what had just happened. But as her eyes focused on the debris scattered around, a shocking truth surged within her. She was still alive, but in that moment, everything had changed. Would they rise from this? Or would she be left clutching the pieces of a past that now felt so distant? Clara's heart raced, and as she looked at Oliver, she knew one thing. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a fight to reclaim everything she had lost. Clara's heart raced as the chaos unfolded. She felt dizzy, caught in a whirlwind of emotions that threatened to consume her. Fear coiled tightly in her chest as the dust settled around them, and Oliver's tears cut through her panic like a sharp blade. She wanted to shield him from this nightmare, to wrap them both in the safety of her love. But shadows loomed everywhere, threatening to engulf them. As she scrambled to comprehend the disarray, she felt an electric shock pulse through the air. The weight of the trail was palpable, pressing down on her as she looked at Tom, crumpled on the floor, blood pooling around him. With every shallow breath, it felt as if the ground beneath her was unsteady, shaking her faith in everything she once believed. "Mommy?" Oliver whimpered, his voice small and fragile in the thick tension. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here," Clara whispered, her throat tight, fighting back tears. She glanced at Tom again, confusion swirling in her mind. What do we do? What do we do? She thought, panic darting through her like wildfire. Marcus held her arm, his face set with determination. "We need to get out, now." His voice rang with urgency, and Clara nodded, grasping Oliver tightly, ready to follow. But just as their feet began to move, something flipped the scene upside down. A loud thud reverberated through the house, shaking the walls. Clara turned, eyes wide, as the front door swung open. A figure stepped in, the strongest presence she had ever encountered. Tall and imposing. He hadn't been among the chaos earlier. His face was obscured by darkness, yet she could feel his gaze piercing through her. "Enough," he boomed, silence slicing instantly through the confusion. Time seemed to freeze. Every heart skipped a beat. It was as if a curtain had lifted, revealing more than she ever wanted to see. "Who are you?"
Clara Afonso se tentando, voz tremendo mais defiante. O homem tomou passo à frente e subitamente mudou.
"É a hora da verdade",
declarou, e com isso o pulso de Clara cresceu. O homem pulou seu capuzais e Clara froze. O respiro caiu na boca. O Jack, um nome que não se falava em anos. Jack, o irmão de Tom, o berrão da família. Ela lembrou das histórias, depois os whisperos de deceita e betraísmo. Você achou que estava tudo na controle? Jack falou de paixão sem negação também de Chiro gracioso. Você achou que ele protegia você. Mas por que agora? Clara sentiu o coração batendo pálpite.
Echoing her confusion. "What's happening?" Jack stepped closer, the tension thickening around them. "Your husband is in deep. He's been playing a dangerous game, cheating people, stealing money. But he's not the mastermind, Clara. He's just a pawn." A surge of realization hit her. "What do you mean?" "Look closer," Jack hissed, eyes glinting in the dim light. "The debts he has, they're not just financial. Your perfect life, it's all connected to me, to the family business, drugs, weapons. This wasn't just a debt. It's a takeover. And now the stakes are higher." Clara felt the ground beneath her slip, uncertainty crashing around her like waves. "But Tom loved me. He wouldn't—" Jack's laugh was harsh and empty. "Loved you? Clara, you've been nothing but a cover. And now they're coming for you both. You're in the crosshairs." "Mommy?" Oliver cried, clinging to her side, pulling her back into a panic. Clara's heart shattered. This wasn't just about her. It was about her son. More chaos erupted as sirens blared louder outside. Officers rushed past, but it felt like the world was closing in. "We need to move," Marcus shouted, adrenaline fueling his urgency. But Jack stepped forward, his presence overwhelming. "If you want to survive, listen to me." Clara felt the weight of his words, but trust was a fragile thread. Before she could think, the door slammed shut and officers surrounded the room. The lights from their guns flashed wildly, illuminating the shock-on everyone's faces. "Hands up," they commanded, but it was too late. From the corner a voice broke through, filled with cold authority. "Put your hands down. I won't ask again." The man who spoke wasn't in uniform. Clara's heart dropped again. It was Tom's boss, the one they had feared, the puppet master behind everything. He strode forward, face twisted with anger. "Your husband has underestimated me," he spat, "and now he will pay. You all will." In that moment, chaos shattered. It was obliterated. As the room spiraled into darkness, one last thought pierced through the haze. What if Tom had never been the man she thought he was? What if betrayal ran deeper than just the ones caught in the crossfire? The world engulfed in blaring sirens, and shattered glass faded away as Clara fought to hold on to something, anything. But in that moment, she understood. Nothing would ever be the same, and survival hinged on a truth buried deep within the chaos. Clara's heart raced as the chaos erupted around her. She felt swallowed by disbelief, confusion wrapping tight around her mind. Sirens continued to wail, and confusion blurred the edges of her vision. Oliver clutched her leg, big tears rolling down his cheeks. She needed to protect him. She needed to get them out. Tom lay on the floor, blood pooling beneath him. Jack's presence loomed like a dark cloud. "This isn't right," Clara whispered, voice shaking. "Enough with the theatrics," Jack shouted, frustration bubbling over. "This is bigger than you know." In that moment, the masked man, Bill, sneered, eyes gleaming with a dangerous shine. "You thought you could hide from your past, Tom? Now it's all crashing in." You don't get to choose when to be a hero. Tom met Clara's gaze, pain and desperation in his eyes. Clara, please, I love you. I never meant for you to get hurt. But the moment stretched painfully as Jack stepped back, scanning the room. What he was about to say held weight. You're all in danger. This was never just about money. It's about power. Suddenly, the room was rocked by another explosion, a thunderous crash from the back of the house. Clara flinched, instinctively pulling Oliver closer. The walls shuddered, plaster dust falling around them like snow. Get down, Marcus yelled, pushing Clara and Oliver low to the ground. A heavy thump resonated from outside, followed by cries, distressed shouts, and footsteps pounding hurriedly toward them. Clara's heart raced faster. What was happening? The door burst open once again, and through the chaos stumbled a figure, a woman, breathless and disheveled. Clara recognized her instantly, her breath catching in her throat. It was Sarah, the woman who had entered their world like a ghost, wrapped in mystery and lies. Clara, you need to listen, Sarah shouted, her eyes wild. There's no time, there... But her words were cut off as officers surged forward, guns drawn. Get on the ground, they shouted, hostile and tense. Just then, Clara noticed something flash in Sarah's hand, a glint of metal. Wait, don't, Clara cried, instincts kicking in as she reached out. In one swift motion, Sarah pressed something against her chest. An explosive device, just like the one Bill had used earlier, detonated right there. No! Clara screamed, her heart plummeting. The blinding flash engulfed the room. The world warped into chaos. Shadows danced around her, and she felt the ground drop from beneath her feet. The blast slammed into her, tossing her backward with a force that stunned her senses. Time stretched and twisted. The cacophony of sound enveloped her as she fought to keep her eyes open. In the haze, something caught her attention. A familiar face peered through the dust and debris. Tom. He was standing, but bruised and battered. In his hand was the remote that had controlled the chaos. Clara, he shouted, desperation lacing his voice. I'm sorry. I can explain. But confusion clouded her mind. Could she trust him now? Would the truth be upended once more? She fought against the pounding pain in her head, trying to rise. Then, amidst the disarray, she heard it. A name. Clara, I'm your sister. I'm back. Every ounce of air left her lungs. Stunned, Clara's heart raced. What? She gasped, eyes darting back to Sarah, who stood like a looming shadow, a stranger now transformed into a family member. I was told you were dead. I thought everything was a lie, Clara cried, her voice cracking with the weight of realization. As chaos continued to swirl, relationships shattered like glass around her. Clara stood frozen in shock. Every truth she believed was flipped on its head. Sarah was her sister, alive and hidden away in a world brimming with darkness. The room spun, urgency cranked to a fever pitch. What does this mean? She whispered, fear crashing over her like a tidal wave. Everything, Clara. The life you knew is gone. You're in danger. The sirens blared, the sound rising into a chaotic symphony, and Clara's heart plummeted. Who was friend? Who was foe? The truth curled like smoke, elusive and dangerous, and she was left clutching Oliver, momentarily caught in an endless loop of shock. In that split second, Clara realized they were teetering on the edge of fate, desperately fighting for clarity in a world where nothing was as it seemed. What lay ahead? The darkness spiraled, and she felt the desperate urge to know. Clara stood at the edge of confusion, her mind spinning. What does this mean? She whispered, her heart thumping in her chest. Sarah, her sister, was alive, but the chaos swirled like a stormahol. E Clara sentia mal, tentando processar o choque que repreendeu na sala. Choveu o mundo agora. O som de passos pesados percorrera de fora, mais rápido que antiga.
Uma quantidade de ruídos veio sobrando de vozes, urgência enchendo o ar. Gritou Marcos, arrompando Clara e Oliver com ele. A porta se abriu vácuo com entrada bem estendida. Ela brincou a boca. Se surpreendeu. Não basta. Ele atopou a atmosfera zonem como uma onda. Olhos altos com uma força e intensidade. Espinga dele aos solos. E Clara foi. A porta se abriu. A porta entrou com certeza mais próxima do que a zona. Cheie. Ele abriu. Deixem chegar ali, Marcos. E não foi só de brincar. Ele crachou a atmosfera tensa. Porém, havia muita gente incrível. Ele subiu, como se entupe dentro da atmosfera. Mas, quando Raiz tentou diminuí-la, porque nem bem, rasfobir o maruacase, a lasanha, ele arrou. Scanning the room. I don't have time for this. He stepped closer, locking eyes with Jack. You led me right into this mess. Before anyone could react, Jack lunged, fists clenched. You have no idea what you're talking about. The unknown man seemed unfazed. He lashed out, shoving Jack back. A look of fear gripped Jack's features for a fleeting second, but it was gone as quickly as it had come. You thought you could come back and pretend everything was fine? You're a fool. You were never supposed to be here. Clara's heart raced as she grasped Oliver's hand tighter. What is happening? The words escaped her lips like a lifeline. Your sister and Tom. Point to the finger. They've.
Aldelebendo bat, I saw a biega, something dark. Jaku guspit, but the accusation lingered like a bad smell. This isn't your showdown. You don't get to dictate this. And then the moment changed. The unknown man pulled something from his pocket, a small object that glinted ominously in the damaged light. Clara squinted, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Without a word, he pressed it to the floor. A beep echoed ominously, sending a shiver down her spine. Desplace está rido para bombar, e todos vocês têm segundos depois dele. What? Clara gritou. Sai aqui! Marcos apanhou com a mão para conseguir a porta. Mas Sarah resistiu. Olhe, wide. Wait. No. If you leave, I can't. Move! Tom yelled, his voice cracking. He stumbled, trying to reach them. Another explosion rippled through the house. Clara ducked, her heart racing beyond control. Oliver, hold on to me. She pulled him close, fear gripping her throat. In the swirl of chaos, a loud crash shattered the air as more officers stormed in, their faces hardened and grim. This is a police emergency. Everyone out. Oliver whimpered against her. Mommy! Just then, the unknown man turned, his face softening briefly. I'm sorry, but this is bigger than you all. You thought. The final beep echoed across the room. A flash engulfed everything. In that brief moment, time suspended. The ground shook violently, and Clara felt a rush of heat envelop her. When the smoke cleared, she blinked slowly, gasping. Clara's eyes adjusted, and she staggered back in horror. Where was Oliver? Where was Tom? No, this was wrong. This wasn't just an explosion, it was devastating. As the dust settled, Clara looked around, panic clawing at her insides. Jack was gone. The stranger was bleeding. Marcus crouched, breathless, and then she saw the true horror. Only Oliver remained, standing alone in a strange field, the world around him twisted, memories bleeding together. Mommy, he murmured, eyes wide with confusion. Clara felt her heart stop. That field wasn't just any field. It was the very spot from her past she had buried, a place she had sworn she'd never return to. Everything came crashing down, memories flooding back. Her family's secrets, her father's anger, the darkness she had tried to escape. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a reckoning. The truth she had tried so hard to hide twisted around her like a vice. What had she really lost? And what would it take to get it back? Dread washed over her, leaving a chilling silence in its wake. Would she brave this hidden darkness, or was it finally too late? Clara's heart pounded like a war drum as the dust settled around her. She felt the weight of the moment. Everything was at stake. Oliver stood at her side, fear etched across his small face. This was no longer just about the chaos, but about survival. "We can't stay here," Marcus urged, gripping her shoulder tightly. His eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape. The reality hit her like a slap. They needed to move. "Oliver, we have to go," she said softly, determination lacing her voice. She reached for her son, locking eyes with him. His innocence felt like a fragile flame in the storm. "Mommy, I'm scared," Oliver cried, clutching her leg tighter. Her heart ached, but she couldn't show fear. "Not now. Stick close to me. We'll get through this together," she promised. Her voz firme. Eles se dirigiram em direção à porta, com urgência, percorrendo seu corpo. Então ela virou-se para Tom, ainda no chão, pálido e lutando. "Tom, você não pode ficar aqui. Por favor, precisamos ir." Ele olhou para cima, a dor evidente em seus olhos. "Clara, você precisa entender. Eu estava envolvido demais. Nunca quis te arrastar para isso." Sua voz tremia, crua de arrependimento. "Eu não me importo com o passado. Eu só quero que fiquemos seguros." Ela puxou Oliver para mais perto, desesperada para protegê-lo das consequências das escolhas de Tom. De repente, outra explosão sacudiu a casa, a força jogando-os fora de equilíbrio. Clara gritou, agarrando Oliver com força. Então ela ouviu um grito distante. "Clara, a ti!" Jet emergiu de the clouds of dust, bruised but determined, reaching for them. "We have to go, now." She hesitated, but the urgency in his voice cut through the haze. Clara nodded, adrenaline fueling her as they started moving through the chaos. They stumbled over debris, heartbeats echoing like war drums in her ears. "Stay close," Marcus shouted, as they reached the back door. But as they burst through, chaos awaited them. Officers were scrambling, shouting orders. "Concernie, vozes, batalhando no meio da chaos. Get them out! A rua, indo acima. Agora temos." Mas fica como contaminada na terra. Em seguida, Clara pulou, golpe nela. Sarah had revealed herself moments before the blast. Surely, she wouldn't let her sister face this alone. "We can't think about just one person," Marcus insisted, gripping her arm tightly. "We need to survive." "Mommy," Oliver cried, pulling her back. "Please." Clara closed her eyes for a moment, forcing the fear away. "We'll find her later, I promise." And she marched forward, half dragging Oliver, half dragging her own dread behind her. As they ran, the air swirled with the scent of smoke and fear, remnants of her old life clinging to her like shadows. But she wasn't just running from danger. She was running toward something. Hope. The chance to rebuild, to learn the truth, to fight for a better tomorrow. When they finally hit o perímetro, onde grupo de oficiais tinha colocado uma sala segura, ela virou para ver a devastação de trás dela. A casa, as memórias, foram perdidas. Mas para Oliver, ela tinha que ficar firme. Olhou que tinha uma ambulância. Marcos apontou a série de suas palavras. "Estamos salvos agora." Mas por Clara, simples pensamento intruiu. O que será a futuro, se for enfrentar as fieradas, o Tom e Jack e Bill, ou por finalmente, ela, a garra daqui entre? Clara cocou a mão de Oliver,
determinação entusiasmada no seu interior. Com cada passo, bateram vem a batalha do seu passado. Ela foi preparada para confrontar o mistificante.
Ahead, casting away shadows of the unknown. But just then, the ground trembled again. Another threat looming? A mystery still hidden in the distance. This was not the end. It was merely the beginning. And you need to stay with us for what's next. Immediately subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next exclusive stories. Press that like button now to feed the algorithm and push us forward. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this finale. What do you think will happen next? Don't wait 1 second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know about this final. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions.